Welcome to my YouTube channel, Half Fast Hugo. Today we are in the bike shop or the bike cave, whatever. If you've been following my video, you know I've been working on this. So you can see behind me, I've got put up some barnwood planking and just got things getting set up the way I want. But I'm gonna do a little ride tomorrow, so I wanted to get things set up and on my bike, and picked up some set of radials not too long ago, a couple months ago, some Schwalbe Albert Trail Pro Ultra Soft. So they're the new radials by Schwalbe. Heard a lot of good things about them. Supposedly they help soak up some bumps and give some good grip. I've heard you got to run a little bit higher tire pressure. Do have a smidge more rolling resistance, but all the reviews I've seen on them and everybody talking about them, so they roll pretty slick, pretty nice. So figured I'd pick up a set. They're running about, depending upon where you get them, 80 to, probably 90 to 110 bucks a set if you can get them on sale somewhere, you like local bike shop or wherever. But yeah, they look pretty decent so far, so we'll get them mounted up, and when we'll do a demo on them tomorrow and see how they roll. All right, let's get them swapped out. All right, got the Schwalbes mounted up. So the Albert Trail, the Pro TLR Ultra Soft Radials, 29 by 2.5. So pretty good looking tires. Yeah, front and rear wasn't too bad to mount on there. We'll see how they roll on the trails. I'm not sure if I'm going to ride the e-bike tomorrow or maybe Sunday, so we'll get out on it and give them a shot on the trails. So, all right, let's do it. All right, so loaded up the e-bike, got the new radials on, so we're gonna take a stroll through Piedmont, and I am riding on Deer Slayer at the moment, so we'll just give the radials a spin on this trail and a few other ones and see how they hold up. Chose this because it's a little bit chunkier, has some nice roots and rocks, and figured it'd be a good first shot. So far they feel pretty good. Don't really notice a huge difference, but maybe when you get over some of that chunk, it feels like it's not quite as harsh. If the radials do soak up some of that, maybe. I think as I get more miles, maybe we'll have a better idea. Pretty smooth, because some of that I know is awful chunky, so. Well, that's pretty neat. Definitely can feel some forgiveness in the tires. I'm running 25 in the front, 27 in the rear. Probably have to experiment with that, but right now it feels pretty good, so we'll keep riding and check in after we get a little further down the trail. All right, we are on Lower Burner, heading over towards the Brewer's Loop. This is part of the DT. So far the grip feels pretty darn good, and the rolling resistance, well, I don't notice much. Again, I'm on an e-bike, so that's kind of, depending upon how you look at it, cheating or not, you're not going to really get the rolling resistance on it. Doesn't seem to be anyway. And then as far as grip, seems pretty nice. Right. Hello. Hi. Just me. So yeah, seems pretty nice so far. All right, so far, pretty happy with the radials. Got maybe, I don't know, 10 miles on them maybe. Nah, probably about 7 right now, but we'll see once we get some more miles on them. But I've heard they do kind of break in too. I've heard they can get a little sticky on the corners. I haven't noticed that yet, but I'm gonna go hit a trail that has some flat corners and we'll try that out. So far the chunk has been very nice, riding over the chunk on the radials, so yeah, pretty happy so far. Pretty cool. I don't know if they make them in narrow or width yet. It's at these are 2.5s, and it would be interesting to put them on my Ibis XE, but I don't want to run 2.5s on that. So, yeah, this is Homebrew, the name of this trail. As you can see, it's chunky. I've had other rides on it, even in the winter. So, definitely, it is a little chunky, but fun. So, yeah, I like it so far. All right, we're on some flat stuff in the radials. So far I like them. They're definitely grippy. I haven't noticed anything out of the ordinary really. I don't know, it seems like it just, maybe I'm just wishful thinking, I don't know. It seems to be pretty nice though. I like them. We'll see as we get them broke in and get more miles on them. But they were all pretty darn sweet. Kind of reminds me of my Reed, where I have a little more cush with a coil shock on it. It just seems to take some of the maybe chattery stuff out, if that's the word for it. Seems to smooth out some of the little stuff, and the hits aren't quite as harsh maybe. So again, I'm running 25 psi in the front, 27 in the rear. I may experiment with that a little bit, but all right, this should be a fun little downhill section once we get past some of this climbing sections. A little bit of an uphill here for a minute, but should be able to test the radials out on some nice turns and stuff. So they are running a couple races on the trails today, so I got to be careful of that. Is what it is. See, it handles that chunky stuff really nice. Oh. Grip tends to be good. Fun. Yeah, this is just what we call the Upper King Creek Trail. Figured it'd be a good one to try them out on. Go ahead. You're uphill, man. Sorry to stop you.
No, you're fine. We're just tired from climbing that hill down there.
I've done it, yeah. It's painful. Thank you, guys. Alright, just back on the Lollygagger Trail. So, again, this one's pretty leaf covered with some flatter turns, but the grip on the radials is pretty good. I don't really notice a rolling resistance difference, but you're not, like I said, on the e-bike. So in that regard, you gotta kind of not pay attention to that. But seems to soak up the bumps nice. I do like that aspect of it. Seems to work out pretty nicely. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, downhill Haynes Road, or trail, or what we call the return to Haynes. Grips really, really well on those rails. Just gotta keep an eye out for peoples. It is a little moist in here, and that makes me a little nervous. But to be dumb, you gotta be tough. Wet rock. All right, back in the shop. Got the bike back in. Did the ride on it yesterday. So those are the Schwalbe Albert Trail Pros. I have the Ultra Soft. They do make it in a soft. You can see the tread pattern there. Again, 12.5 miles on them. What's interesting is you can actually see the deflection. That's running 27.5 pounds, and you can 27 pounds, and you can see the deflection in that rear tire. So it does certainly give you some better grip. It's debatable if that's so good over a lot of chunk, but it definitely seems to give it grip, and I like it. I've seen some reviews where it's not so nice when it's in some of the wet stuff, but for me, it's worked pretty good so far. I have no complaints. But I'm only 12.5 miles in too. So these are the trails. They do make the Gravity. They make the Schwalbe Gravity Pro, Schwalbe Albert Gravity Pro, in a soft and an ultra soft. So the soft is going to be a little bit more firmer, not quite as plush. And the Gravity versus the Trail, Gravity is going to be more for that downhill aggressive enduro stuff, where the Trail is really more for kind of the riding that I'm using this bike for. So for me, the Trail works really well. My son put the softs on his. I have the ultra softs, and I don't know, it was pretty cush. I enjoyed it. Definitely, I told him it kind of reminded me of having the having like a coil spring on there. Kind of takes some of that chattery out of the trail, maybe a little chattering out of the trail, maybe some of the roots in the rocks. So I liked it. So things to note, if you do go with the Gravity Pro, then that's going to add about 100 grams of weight if you're a weight weenie and you care about that stuff. I don't really, especially when I'm running on an e-bike. So for me, that's not a big deal. But it's going to cost you about 100 grams extra weight if you go to the Gravity Pros. They do have a weight limit on the tires. It's about, I think it's at 115 kilograms, which is about 250 pounds. So that's the load limit on the tires too. So keep that in mind when you get all geared up if you're riding it. So yeah, I'm running about 205, 210 right now. I need to drop some weight. So that's another whole video. But anyway, so my recommendations, do I like them? Yeah, I like them. Would I use them again? You betcha. So if you would, hit that like, share, subscribe button. I appreciate you checking it out. And most importantly, get outside. Thanks for watching.